What if the most profound revolution began not with a rallying cry, but with an echoing hush? In the secluded village of Eldoria, nestled within the ancient, mist-shrouded valley of the Whisper-Wind Peaks, silence was not merely the absence of sound. It was a curse, a prophecy, a social death sentence. Here, the spoken word was the bedrock of existence, the very pulse of life itself. Oral histories, epic chants, intricate incantations, and daily pronouncements from the elders formed the sacred tapestry of their society. To be without voice was to be without influence, without standing, without a soul truly connected to the vibrant, verbal world around them. It was into this unforgiving quietude that Elara was born, her lips sealed from birth, her destiny seemingly etched in stone, as an eternal outsider. Elara's world was a symphony of sounds she could only perceive through the vibrations of the earth, the rustle of leaves, the frantic beating of her own heart, the melodic calls of the forest birds, the communal laughter echoing from the longhouse, the solemn drone of the elders' rituals, all alien vibrations understood only through the keenness of her other senses and the profound empathy that bloomed in her silent core. She moved through Eldoria like a phantom, her presence often overlooked, her thoughts unheard, her wisdom dismissed before it could even be formed into a gesture. The villagers, bound by traditions as old as the colossal sentinel trees that guarded their valley, saw her muteness not as a condition, but as a divine displeasure, a cosmic oversight that marked her as incomplete, a vessel lacking the sacred gift of speech bestowed upon humanity. Some whispered she carried the mark of a forgotten transgression. Others that her very existence invited ill fortune upon their harvest or the health of their livestock. This pervasive superstition relegated Elara to the fringes, confining her to the most menial and solitary tasks, gathering obscure herbs from the deepest woods, tending to the sick animals, shunned by others, mending tattered clothes that no one else cared for. Yet, within this crucible of isolation, her silent strength began to forge itself, a quiet resilience born of necessity and an almost preternatural ability to observe, to understand, and most importantly, to care. Her village, Eldoria, was a marvel of ancient craftsmanship and unwavering adherence to custom. Huts carved from petrified wood and roofed with interwoven moss-lined winding, cobblestone paths. Smoke from communal hearths perpetually curled towards the sky, carrying the scent of pine and roasted grains. Every aspect of life, from the precise planting of crops to the arrangement of stones in the river, was governed by generations of oral tradition, passed down with meticulous accuracy. The elders, venerable figures whose long beards and even longer memories held the collective wisdom of the ages, were the supreme arbiters, their pronouncements unchallengeable, their words the law. For them, speech was order, chaos lurked in silence, and the unconventional was a direct threat to the fragile harmony they painstakingly maintained with nature and the ancestral spirits. Elara's existence was a constant, unsettling anomaly in this meticulously structured world. She could not participate in the morning blessings, could not contribute to the vital storytelling circles around the fire, could not negotiate for her share of the hunt or voice her opinions in village assemblies. Her gestures, though expressive and nuanced, were often met with confusion, impatience, or outright suspicion. It was as if she spoke a language one was willing to learn, a dialect of the heart that the rigid conventions of Eldoria had long forgotten. Despite the ostracism, Elara possessed an innate warmth, an unyielding kindness that shone brighter than any spoken word. She saw the world with a clarity born of her silence, noticing details others missed, understanding emotions beneath the surface of conversation. While others engaged in gossip or political maneuvering, Alara observed the subtle shifts in the wind that foretold a storm, the precise time a rare medicinal flower would bloom, the unspoken fears in a child's eyes. Her hands, though calloused from labor, were remarkably gentle, whether tending to a fledgling bird fallen from its nest or carefully bandaging the paw of a stray fox caught in a hunter's snare. These small, unsung acts of compassion became her true voice, her quiet rebellion against a world that sought to mute her entirely. She never expected gratitude, nor did she receive it often. Her kindness was a fundamental extension of her being, a spontaneous outflow of a spirit untainted by the bitterness of her circumstances, the true test of her quiet resilience, and the spark that would ignite a profound transformation arrived during the annual culling of the sun grains, a critical harvest ritual upon which the village's sustenance for the coming winter depended. For generations, the process had been guided by the intricate chants of the harvest master, whose rhythmic recitation was believed to coax the grains from the earth, ensuring a bountiful yield. This year, however, a blight, subtle and insidious, had begun to creep through the fields, threatening to decimate the crop. The elders, following ancient protocols, performed increasingly elaborate ceremonies, their voices hoarse with desperation, their rituals growing more fervent. But the blight only worsened. Panic began to ripple through the village, fear for the approaching famine palpable in the air. Alara, tasked with the solitary and humble duty of scaring away scavenging birds from the outermost, least valued rows, spent her days intimately among the struggling stalks. While the villagers debated and prayed loudly in the central square, she observed. She noticed the pattern of the blight, not random as assumed, but concentrated where certain wild, parasitic vines grew. She saw how these vines, themselves a native species, were unusually vibrant this season, their tendrils subtly choking the life out of the sun grains. Her silent discovery was a radical departure from the elders' belief that spiritual imbalance, not ecological minutiae, was the cause of all woes. Armed with her silent insight, Alara began to meticulously, painstakingly, remove the parasitic vines, one by one, from the small section of field entrusted to her. She used her deft fingers, learned from years of delicate herb gathering, to sever the parasitic connections without damaging the precious grain stalks. She worked from dawn till dusk, her movements precise and tireless, her face etched with concentration. When an elder, the stern and traditionalist Lysander, stumbled upon her, he initially scoffed. "What pointless busy work is this, child?" he grumbled, seeing only a mute girl plucking weeds, not understanding the profound intervention unfolding before him. "The spirits demand our devotion, not your futile plucking. Leave the work to the voiced, Alara." He expected her to cower, to retreat, as she usually did when confronted. But this time, Alara held his gaze, her eyes, usually downcast, now blazing with an unyielding conviction. She then pointed, first to a healthy sun grain stalk, then to a blighted one, and finally, with a deliberate gesture, to the parasitic vine she had just removed, holding it up for him to see. Her silent communication was an audacious challenge, a direct questioning of the elder's wisdom, relying not on words, but on undeniable, observable truth. It was an act of quiet defiance that threatened to shatter not just the villagers' perception of her, but the very foundation of its age-old, speech-centric traditions. The first tremor of a kingdom-wide transformation had just begun, born not of a shout, but of an undeniable, powerful silence.